Assalamu alaikum YouTube. Welcome to the first installment in a series of videos that I've been wanting to make for a very long time. In fact, it's almost been a year now since I conceived this idea of making a series about the companions. And in fact, I have notes from last year as well. But I wasn't really able to articulate my thoughts as effectively as I can now, and even now my articulation is very poor. But I still have a lot of thoughts that I want to share regarding this. So, what is the companion series? What is the Be Like companion series? Why am I making this, and why am I making this right now? Well, the purpose of this series is basically to dissect, deconstruct, and explain to you some of the characteristics and the traits of the great men of the past, most notably the companions, the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the reason why I want to do this is because, as you know, in the modern world, we're battling many enemies. We're battling many ideologies like hedonism, degeneracy, and most modern young men have fallen victim to these things. And I believe that in order to become a proper man, you need to espouse the qualities that the companions used to espouse, because they were true masculine men and they embodied the proper Islamic masculinity, right? And obviously, the greatest role model for us is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the reason why I'm not making a video on him is because that would be too extensive, right? And also, all of the companions, you'll note in subsequent videos as well, all of the companions are very unique, right? There's not two companions that are exactly the same, and all of them have very, very different qualities, and all of them have some qualities that are more striking than the others. And I want to discuss those in kind, and I will, right? And I believe these qualities are especially necessary to have as a man. It's imperative, right? And if you're a young man, you're looking for direction and you don't know what to do and you don't have a role model, right? It's saddening to admit, but a lot of modern fathers are not as good as role models as they could be or as they should be, right? They're not good role models. So who do you turn to then? You can't turn to people online. You can't turn to online gurus, because you can't trust any of them. You can trust history, however. You can trust the companions, because the companions radiallahu anhum weren't anything without Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And all of us 1400 years later, we're nothing without the companions, right? It's the companions, it's their struggle and the way they strived, because of which that we are Muslims today. So we owe a lot to them, and even now I am benefiting from them by studying their lives, right? Now, I want to make clear, this is not going to be a sermon. This is not going to be a khutbah of any sorts, because I'm not a sheikh, I'm not an imam, I'm not a scholar or anything. This is not going to be a history lesson either, right? I will not be discussing the lives of these companions in depth, which sounds counterintuitive. How can I be making a video about the companions and I'm not going to be even discussing the lives of these people? Well, the reason is simple. You already know the lives of the companions, radiallahu anhum, and you already know them because you've studied the lives and you've heard the stories when you grow up, right? You all know about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, you all know about Ali radiallahu anhu, and you know about the qualities of these great men. You know about them, right? My purpose here is to single out those qualities, right, and understand how these people responded to certain situations that arised in their lives, and how you can apply these qualities in order to become a better man. And it's not necessary for me to go to history for that, right? I will be mentioning ahadith when relevant, but I will not be going into in-depth detail as to what specifically happened, the specific events that happened, and you'll understand as I go on. These videos are going to be a bit long. They're probably going to exceed 10 minutes, right? So if you have a problem with your attention span, I suggest you get that fixed first, because the videos will be dry, but they're going to be very beneficial for you, right? Because I believe these points are very nuanced and they're very complex, and I can't shorten them because then I'd leave so much treasury of knowledge. So why did I choose Abu Bakr RA? That's the first question. Well, obviously, not only was he the first Khalifa, but the argument can be made, in my opinion, he was the first companion of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? It's only fitting that if I'm going to make a video if I'm going to make a series about the companions, right, then it's only fitting that I should start with one trait that I believe every man should have, which is the ability to be a good companion, the ability to be a good friend to other people, just the way Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to the other companions radiallahu anhu. And it's very important for us to know this, because companionship and brotherhood is something that's lost in the ummah, right? It's very scattered, right? Because it's like we've globalized so much that we've gotten really close, but at the same time we've gotten really far away on a micro level, right? And especially you see this when you go to universities, or if you go to schools or colleges, whatever, you'll notice that there isn't that brotherhood. You don't feel that brotherhood for your friends anymore, and I want to revive that. And it's very important to revive that, because as you know, the enemies of Islam, they want us to be disunited. They don't want us to have this brotherhood, this unity among us. And it's sad, because we hate each other. It's very clear cut. We are suspicious of one another, and I want to remove that, right? At least I want to attempt to remove that. May Allah help me. So how can you be a good companion, right? What are the qualities that you should have in yourself that would make you a good companion, that would make you more like companions themselves, right? I have made a list of 5 qualities that I believe are very important, and the way this works is, I think it's 5 or 6, right? I've written 5, but there's many points that are within those 5, so it's probably more than 5. But the way this works is, you first espouse means to apply these qualities in your own self, right? And when you embody these qualities, when you've embodied them, then you seek out companions, or you filter your own friends using these qualities as criteria, right? So you seek out other people who also have these qualities, and you become friends with them. That's how friendships work. And these are the friends that will benefit you the most, right? So the first quality in a good companion is, number 1, his presence reminds you of Allah, and his demeanor guides you to Allah, right? So if you're the type of person who is more religious than your friends, right? Because there's always that one friend in a friend circle that's more religious, right? He has a beard, he regularly goes to the mosque to pray, right? So that's the kind of person that you want to be. In your friend circle, you always want to uplift other people, and you always want to guide your friends to the right path. And the problem with this is that this can go 2 ways, right? Number 1, you can become arrogant with this, which is the greatest risk, right? You don't want to become what I like to call religiously arrogant, in which you start to think that you're better than others because it's apparent that you pray more than them, it's apparent that you give more sadaqah than them, or that you're more righteous and you have more knowledge. And it's very dangerous to become arrogant with that sort of mindset. And you probably might have noticed, I've noticed a lot in my college, that these so-called people, when it's time for salah, they'll be yelling in the college. It's salah time, what are you guys doing? That's you're supposed to come to salah, and there's yelling all over the college, right? And the entire college knows it's Zuhr time. And you don't want to be that kind of religious person in your friend circle. In fact, your demeanor should guide other people and not your words, right? So my advice to people would be to not push their deen onto others. Don't push the religion onto other people, because then you'll just drive them away from it. So the second quality is that his speech increases your knowledge, right? A companion, a good companion, his speech should increase the knowledge of others, right? And I've noticed this a lot in most friend circles. We speak too much, right? And we speak unnecessarily, right? And silence, being silent, is another quality that I will be expanding upon in future videos as well. It's a very important quality to have, especially in social settings, because we burden other people with our speech, right? And if it's not of use, then you're just wasting other people's time. And this goes for joking as well, right? And I'll be honest with you, the reason why we have friends in the first place is so that we can joke around with them, right? We want to have a good time with our friends. But the thing is, when the Prophet ﷺ, when he sat with the companions, right, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, he didn't joke around with them all the time. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the companions gathering under a tree and just cracking jokes all day? Astaghfirullah. I don't think that's the way brotherhood should be. You shouldn't be tricksters. You shouldn't be a gang of comedians, right? You should benefit others with your speech, right? So when you speak, make sure that it benefits other people, otherwise keep silent. This is another saying of scholar Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, that you should keep silent unless your speech benefits other people, otherwise you're just wasting everybody's time, right? The third quality, if he sees you being neglectful, he reminds you. If he sees you remembering Allah, he assists you, right? So when you see your friend, right, when you see your companion, right, he's being neglectful, he's not praying, he's being stingy, he's not giving sadaqah, he uses vulgar language, don't put him down, right? And most especially, don't mention his sins in front of others. This is another important thing. Remind him, of course, you're supposed to remind your friends about regarding good deeds and regarding leaving off bad sins, but you're not supposed to point that out in front of other people, because that's not the prophetic way, because then you're just going to make them feel bad and then they're not your friend anymore, right? So don't put them down, but do remind them. And if you see them doing sadaqah, if you see them attending their prayers regularly, don't put them down by saying, oh, but you're also committing this sin alongside it, so it doesn't matter, it cancels it out. Don't say that, right? In fact, help them. Praise your friends when they do something good. That's very important, right? Praising your friends, expressing your love for your friends. This is another point that I wanted to mention separately, but I'll just mention it here. You need to express your love for your friends, right? Right. Now, this is probably the most suspicious part of the video, but hear me out. It's okay to say to your friend, I love you, right? But just make sure to add, I love you for the sake of Allah, right? How difficult it is for you to look your friend in the eye and say, I love you for the sake of Allah. It's not that difficult. Try it sometimes. In fact, you should try it every day. And don't just say it, but here's another thing. It's something that's very weird. We want to hug each other. We want to shake hands. There's a reason why human physical contact is such a huge thing, right? And it's so sacred in our religion. So when you're with your friends, hug them, right? And don't just do that, weird side hug thing that you do with your father, right? Because it's awkward to hug your father. I get that. But with your friends, you can give them a bear hug, and you should give them a bear hug, right? Give your friends a bear hug and tell them that you love them for the sake of Allah, because this is so important in fostering that brotherhood. This is so important in expressing your love for your friends, because that's how you grow. As men, that's how you grow. And to all of my friends that are watching this, I just want to say I love you for the sake of Allah, guys. The fourth quality is that he should be a person of intellect and he should have good character. Guys, it's very simple. Just don't befriend idiots, all right? Don't befriend losers, right? And a lot of people, they don't understand this, right? And I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but there are many people in this world that are generally losers, right? And it's perhaps their fault, their own fault, or it could be the fault of society itself. It doesn't really matter, right? And usually you'll find is that most of your friends are very immature as well, right? Because most modern young men are immature, and you don't want to be friends with an immature person, and you don't want to be immature yourself. And the reason why it's bad to have immature friends is because, number one, they're irresponsible, they're also lazy, they're unambitious, right? So when you try to when you try to shoot for the stars, they're gonna cling at you, like crabs in a bucket. They don't want you to get out of the bucket, right? They're gonna pull you down, and you don't want friends like that. You want friends who challenge you, who compete with you, right? And immature friends, they don't do that. Now, there's two solutions to this. Either you can try and help them, right? Or you can just leave them, right? And I know most of you will go for the former option, which is to help your friends, and that's a good thing. But you have to understand that you can only help those who want to be helped and who want to help themselves, right? A lot of people, when you start giving them advice, they get very defensive. And even if you give them advice in a good gesture, they're gonna be like, they're gonna brush it off, and you can't help them, and they're gonna wallow in despair. And these people, you have to understand, misery spreads faster than positivity, right? So even if you're the most positive person you can be, if your friends are miserable, they're gonna spread that to you, and you don't want that, right? And it's probably going to be painful letting go of some of the people that you've shared memories with. But if they're not conducive to your own growth, then you should leave them. You should leave them. It's not that complicated, right? And the fifth and last one, the good companion should not chase after the dunya, or the worldly life. And this is most true especially for women as well, because I believe we can all agree, women are generally more consumeristic than men are, even though men are consumeristic as well, but women to a higher extent, especially in where I live, in Pakistan, where the malls are teeming with no other populace other than women. That was a weird sentence, but the malls are like teeming with women, right? And especially when Black Friday or something, or when there's a huge sale, you see women, they're just rushing into the stores, and they're very consumeristic. It's like I'm seeing the jaws of capitalism just clutch around the necks of these women, and it's sad, right? So if, for the sisters out there, if you have friends that are very consumeristic, they go to restaurants all the time, right? They go out too much, and they want to get. And for the boys, it's like if your friends are inviting you to places like shisha lounges or vape hangouts, or if you're going to those places very often, and you know that this lifestyle, it's hedonistic, so you should avoid this at all costs. You shouldn't be friends with someone who chases after the dunya, because then they're gonna drag you down a path of degeneracy. It's as simple as that. Now, I'm not saying don't meet up once in a while. It's always good to meet up, but do so in a manner that's conducive to everyone's growth, right? So, for example, me and the boys, when we meet up, we don't go to like barbecues and stuff very often. We do go to barbecues. A barbecue once in a while is great. But usually we gather at the park, we exercise, we do some martial arts. It's really great. And this type of stuff really helps in fostering the brotherhood as well. And fostering the brotherhood is something I've repeated probably 10 times in this video, but it's very important, right? You need to be united with your friends. You need to be a good companion. And you're probably wondering at the end of all this, well, where does Abu Bakr RA come into this? I haven't mentioned him at all. And the thing is, I don't even need to mention the qualities of that great companion. May Allah be pleased with him, because he already espouses all of these qualities, right? And all of the companions espouse this quality. They were all great companions. And sure, they got into fights with each other, right? They got into disagreements. I wouldn't say fights. They got into disagreements. And even during the Prophet's lifetime, right? But they were united in a common cause, right? Just like you may argue with your friends, right? You may disagree with them. Don't cut off that friendship just because of an argument, right? Right? Learn to forgive your friends as well. That's very important. You should have good character, and that sort of stuff builds character as well. And don't be hesitant to do acts of goodness in front of your friends as well. If you're embarrassed to do righteous acts in front of your friends, then there's something wrong with your friend circle. And that's basically all for this video. I hope you benefited from this. Do share it with your friends, and you can be expecting other subsequent videos as well on all of the companions. I will be discussing so many more qualities that we as men should have, and that's not going to be the only part of this channel. But the purpose is to make a sort of a library of videos that you can, like you can pull out of the shelf and just watch and benefit from. That's basically going to be the purpose of this channel. And as for the audio quality, if it's bad, don't worry about it. The thing is, I have a mic, but I can't get it to work. So I'm gonna fix that by the next video, inshallah. And have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum.